Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Premodern Showdown Series 3. I'm Michael Hoyp. I'm joined tonight once again by Flint Espel. Say hi, Flint.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back. Welcome back. We missed you. We
Good to
enjoyed
be back.
we enjoyed Mano, but we missed you as well.
Of course, of course.
All right. So tonight we've got some Premodern lined up. We have Aaron Dix facing off against Tom Metelsky. They're waiting. They're ready to play right now. And then for our later night match, we have Brian Durkin up against Jared Doucette. So let's look at the standings real quick. So we are in week 6, and right now we have John and James in the front of the pack at 4-1, and Jared in third with 3-2, while Aaron, Brian, and Ron all are 2-3, and then Tom and Ben are 1-3. Though there's an asterisk by them. Obviously, their total only adds up to 4. They did not play on Thursday. They will be making their matchup this Thursday. So by the end of this week, they'll at least have the same number of matches played as everybody else. So right now they're at the bottom, but you can't really blame them when they're down an entire week. So that's where we're looking at where we're at. And let's look at the bans for the players for this first match. So we have Aaron up against Tom. Aaron's decks are Survival Elves, Sly, and Esper Stiflenought. His Sly deck has been banned. And then Tom has Goblins, Psychatog, and the Devourer combo. And his Goblins deck has been banned. All right, Flint, you're back in the hot seat. What is Aaron going to play, and what is Tom going to play?
Oh, this is really tough because I don't have all of the experience with Psychatog that Tom does, and I know that he probably knows how it matches up against both Elves and Dreadnought. As my dog barks in the background, I would say Aaron is going to play Dreadnought, and Tom is going to play Devour.
Okay. So we will jump over to the decks. And Esper Stiflenought is the deck for Aaron Dix. All right. So
The tentative way you said that made me think that I'm wrong about Tom, but I did get this one right. All right,
okay.
continue.
So let's briefly talk about this deck. We have seen Aaron play it a number of times, but the Dreadnought is trying to come into play in combination with either a Stifle or a Vision Charm so that it can get a 12/12 Trampler in play as early as turn 1 thanks to Lotus Petal. And then the protection comes from Meddling Mage, Duress, and then counter spells with Daze, and this version has Mana Leak. And then Inlane Tutor kind of finds the Dreadnought, could find some pieces like Winter Orb or Seal Cleansing, or maybe a Lotus Petal in some situations, but and then Limdal's Vault is kind of a catch-all too that finds things. So a very streamlined deck is consistent in what it does, and if the opponent is not prepared for an early Dreadnought, they could find themselves shuffling up to their sideboard. So is there anything you want to add about the Esper Stiflenought deck?
Nope, I don't think so. We're in what, week 6 now?
Yep. All right, and then the deck that Tom is playing is none other than Psychatog. So a deck that Tom has really liked. I don't know if part of the reason why he has played it so much is just because he likes it so much, or if he really feels that it's advantage in all the potential matchups. But he has brought it again up against Aaron. So do you want to say some brief things about the Psychatog deck out of Tom?
Sure. Yeah, he's definitely championed this deck. I mean, you and I have talked about Psychatog for a long time, but Tom seems to have found a version that's worked really well for him. Basically looking to establish control early on and prevent the opponent from advancing their game plan before eventually dropping a Psychatog late game when one has plenty of cards in the graveyard and in hand, especially enabled from things like accumulated knowledge and gush, and then swing in for a win with the Psychatog, preferably with Wonder in the graveyard.
Okay. So I'll move over to the key cards of the match as I expect. So Duress is in both players' deck, and I think it is a key player for the Stiflenought to get information, maybe take away. I mean, there's a lot of counter spells slash removal out of Tom's deck, but just getting the information and kind of figuring out what you need to play around could be really valuable. And then out of Tom's side, taking out a Vision Charm or Stifle preemptively could really slow down the Dreadnought deck, so that it has to work to find another one of those pieces and give it some time to set up, develop its mana for its counter magic. And then, not 100% sure, I don't know if I've ever seen this matchup actually in action, but there's a couple of Mother Runes on the sideboard, and it does a good job if it sneaks into play of answering the removal spells out of Tom. So Tom has Smother, Vendetta, and Diabolic Edict, and so Mother Runes kind of is a cute way to soak up whether a targeted removal spell or a Diabolic Edict. Either way, the Mother of Runes can protect the Dreadnought, so that could come into play in the sideboard matches. And then Counterspell is just a very solid card for the Psychatog. The Stiflenought deck obviously needs to cast 2 cards in 1 turn, so it's committing 2 cards, and if one card like Counterspell disrupts that, then it's inherent card advantage. So just having blue, being able to counter any spell, regardless of how much mana that Aaron would hold up, is just a powerful answer and a good catch-all. And then out of the sideboard, there are, I don't know if it's 2 or 3 copies, but it's a number of copies of Annul, and that is a very clean way to counter the Phyrexian Dreadnought for 1 mana. So I expect that to come in and have a role in this match. All right. I am briefly going to, I guess, Flint, do you want to say anything else real quick? I'm going to set up a poll before we get too far ahead. Do you want to say who is on the play?
Tom is on the play.
Okay, so that seems like a good thing. So who will win match 1? We either have Aaron D or Tom M. All right, you got a couple of minutes, folks. You can bet your channel points and try and predict the winner. So we'll go down in the match. Flint, you can let our players know that they can begin, and we will kick things off. All right. So do you think one of the decks is favored in the pre-boarded games, or do you think it's pretty close to even?
I think it's pretty close. Obviously, the longer the game goes on, the better it gets for Tom, but I think it's close.
All right, we see a turn 1 duress, so Tom is going to have a good amount of information to see what he's working up against. And I think that's a Vision Charm, I'm not sure. Then a couple of Lotus Petals, a duress of Aaron's own, Dreadnought, and a couple of land. It is a Vision Charm. So I guess depending on your hand, you either take the duress or the Vision Charm. Okay, so he does take
the Vision Charm.
The Vision Charm. We have the Battle of the 7th Edition Duress up against the classic Urza Saga, so... Gabe says, my heart says Tom, my head says Aaron. All right. So at least one body part will be correct, I guess.
We shall see.
All right, he'll run out the Lotus Petals right away. And it looks like, I'm going to guess he's going to go get a Swamp to Duress.
Seems appropriate.
And Tom shows another Duress, a Circular Logic, Accumulated Knowledge, an Island, and a Dust Bowl. So... okay, he takes Circular Logic, so the counter magic, okay. So I guess, yeah, he's anticipating that the game go on a number of turns and wants to take out the counter magic that Tom does have. Aaron is the one who fetched, right? Yes. Okay, he's at 19.
Yep. So both players kind of building their hands back up after some early duresses.
Accumulated knowledge will draw a card, and now we see the portent out of Tom, targeting himself.
We have chat saying that Aaron's going to lose because he wasn't brave enough to play elves.
I guess nobody's brave in this tournament. I think we've only seen it once so far. So, hi DYM Novikov. Yep, it's no problem if you catch the replay. Yeah, I know the scheduling doesn't work out for everybody, so good to see you. Say hi.
See you tomorrow.
Yes. Okay, so Dreadnought is able to sneak into play for Aaron, as the portent did not find a way to interact in time. So there's a minimal amount of cards now that can deal with a resolved Dreadnought in these pre-boarded games. Right? Smother, and I think a couple Vendettas, and I think there's a recoil as well. All right, Dimitri, I'll try and keep that in mind.
Yeah, 1 Smother, 2 Vendetta, and 1 recoil. He's got 4 mana open here. What are we gonna see?
Ooh, it looks like a Vendetta, or is this a Duress? Or okay, so Vendetta, a hefty price to pay, but I think Tom is happy to pay it right now.
Yeah.
I've had some people say that like they don't think Vendetta is like very good against Dreadnought, but in situations like this, it's exactly what you need. I mean, yeah, it hurts to take 12 life, but now Aaron has to rebuild completely, and typically the decks that are playing Vendetta are kind of suited to disrupt a 2-card combo. So I think it's a card. I mean, obviously you're not playing it just to kill Dreadnought, but the way that it fits in the metagame, I really do like Vendetta, even against Dreadnought.
Yeah, I would agree, especially against the blue-black version of Dreadnought, where they're running dazes. And I don't know if is Aaron running dazes in his
Yes,
list.
he
I don't
does have
remember.
the full set of days. So
Sometimes you need that extra mana to pay
as
it.
we see 2 of them right now. One
Yeah.
gets discarded, one is revealed. So
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. So the 1 mana cost versus 2 of a Smother or something along those lines really can matter. Gabe, you're right. Snuff Out is great, but obviously have to have the a lot of black cards in your deck.
yeah, I guess it's not that much harder to cast because like I think there's only like a couple of underground rivers. I was gonna say like to cast early, but if you're gonna have Vendetta early, you need a black source, and the only most of the black sources are swamps. So I guess that's not really a valid argument.
So we do see everybody's favorite doctor hit the table while Aaron tries to rebuild.
And there's not really much that Air can do about the Psychatog once it's in play. And I wonder. I was trying to think if Aaron could really do anything like bluffing an attack, because if the Psychatog pumps like if Tom needs to block a Dreadnought, um, Tom would have to eat a bunch of cards to make it big enough to kill the Dreadnought. Then I guess there could be like a Vision Charm or something to then like phase the Dreadnought out, which is what we see right now. But this is just to put the Dreadnought into play. So Aaron has to commit 2 cards on the stack to try and get this into play. But it looks like there's a recoil right away. Okay, so in response to Vision Charm, we have recoil, and if this resolves, it will be quite good. I guess with Daze, he's always able to. I mean, he's either able to discard Daze. I guess he could make Tom pay mana, but Oh, he has another card. Okay, he's got a mana leak of his own. All right. Okay, I did not realize he had another card. So the mana leak that Aaron is playing definitely was shining there. That it's able to protect the dreadnought. So now this is kind of tricky for Tom, I think.
Yeah, he's used up 2 of his 4 possible outs.
Okay, so if he's attacking with this Tog, he's just hitting for 1. I guess I missed. Well, Tom has hit Aaron at 17, and Aaron has himself at 16. 1, 2.
I think Tom may have missed the fetch.
There were 2 fetches though, right? And that was just.
And 2 Psychatog attacks.
Oh, there were 2 Psychatog attacks. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing is that there was a smother for that Dreadnought after it phased back in. So before Aaron's able to draw another card, he's able to get rid of that Dreadnought. We're good.
Pretty good. He's seen what, 16, 18 of his 60, and he's seen 3 of his 4 outs. So the variance is certainly in Tom's favor. But then again, Aaron's been able to resolve 2 dreadnoughts as well, so he's certainly not hurting either.
So how many cards do we have in the graveyard? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think. So that's 4.5, and there's 1 card, so still a little bit of ways before the Psychatog can finish off Aaron in a quick fashion. But a card like Fact or Fiction or Gus, I think, would just close it out right away. It's hard. It's hard to do Psychatog math on the fly.
Yeah, I think it would. Yeah, there's the Fact or Fiction.
All right. Well, if you get 3 cards, then it's that alone is, I think, was it +5/+5? Discard 3, exile 5. So what is that? 5.5. And one of these is a gush, and so
yeah,
that one's a bunch of damage too. So I think even this is, well. Let's. I'm trying to think if a 4-1 split does. What was it? 2. I take the gush here, and this should just be lethal, I think.
Yep.
All right, should we do the sound effect for Psychatog? Do you remember what it was?
I don't remember what it was.
It was lack, 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 lack.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
That is the unofficial noise of a
Like
Psychatog. Yes.
Yeah.
The Psychatog smiling as he gets to finish off Aaron. Excuse me, I'm assuming. I don't think there's any interaction pieces from Aaron, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at his list here.
Minimum of 6 damage. I think that's right, but how did I do my math wrong? I guess it puts 2 cards in the graveyard. It puts 6. Or if you split 3, 2 will go to the graveyard and the spell. So there's 3, 1, 2, 3, and then there's 6 cards. So you get to exile,
including the Fact or Fiction.
3. So yes, okay, that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think Aaron has any answers to this resolve Psychatog in his main deck.
So Tom will just go through the motions as he finishes off the Aaron decks. Oh, I guess he'll cast an Accumulate Knowledge just for funsies.
Why not?
Just for funsies. Aaron's ready to take damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like
Here we go.
Aaron needs a Spirit of the Night. That's what he needs.
Is that the answer to everything?
No, that's 42.
All right. As the remaining cards get exiled, I expect. Okay, now we get the scoop from Aaron. Okay, so Psychatog takes down game one.
Pretty good.
Let's jump over to the deck list and take a look at the sideboarding for the players. So for the Esper Stiflenought, I think Mother of Runes will come in. Swords of Plowshares is a card that could come in. I would expect Torment's Crypt to come in. To Saba's Web. How many? Cephalic Coliseum, Dust Bowl. Are there more cards? I don't think there's that many that it shuts down. I mean, it's not a bad card because it replaces itself, but are there any bad cards in Aaron's deck? Seal of Cleansing, I don't think does enough unless there's something out of the sideboard from Tom. I guess Neverroll's Disc might come in. But I mean, none of the cards for Aaron seem particularly bad. I guess Meddling Mage is kind of tricky in some spots because there's a good amount of redundancy out of the Psychatog deck. Like you name Counterspell and you might just get annulled, or you just might get Circular Logic, or you name Vendetta and you get Smothered or Diabolic Edict.
Yeah, I don't like it as much. That might be the card to take out.
I think in some of these matches, if you expect the games to go longer, you take out some number of Lotus Petals. Just even if though on the play, you might just try and figure out, say like, okay, one of the best chances of me winning is just slamming a turn one Dreadnought. So maybe not on the play, but maybe on the draw, you take out some of the.
Maybe, yeah. So what are the cards that you think he's absolutely bringing in? The Three Swords and Planar Void.
I guess I didn't consider Planar Void, but Planar Void and Torment's. I think Torment's Crypt is better than Planar Void. Maybe not. Maybe not necessarily. I guess it's just because if you draw, I guess you have the 4 line tutors to get it, but if it doesn't come down early enough, then Planar Void isn't that great. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I would
Maybe
expect the
take
Mother
out the
Runes to come in, but
maybe take out Limdul's Vault and the Meddling Mages. I don't know. Well, we'll see. I don't know. I don't play the deck.
And then out of the Psychatog, I expect the 3 Annuls to come in. Diabolic Edict seems good. Even Snap seems fine. And then even a card like Neverroll's Disc, I think, is reasonable. I'm not sure what you're shaving here. Wonder, the card you can cut. I don't know if you cut a card like Portent, just because you basically are replacing it with a more high impact card. I don't know.
Maybe you cut the Mana Leaks.
I mean, it's another 2-mana counterspell, and like Aaron doesn't have that much mana. Like, so I don't know. Mana Leak seems fine. So a little bit of decisions for the players to make. They have it's tough sometimes cutting the cards. So we'll see what strategy or route they take to fight these sideboarding games. Jared's talking about playing the Tog deck to finish 4-2. That he totally misbuilt the deck with too much creature removal, but it can't beat a top tier control deck with no way to handle resolved artifacts or enchantments. I guess these players should start at 20 and not 15.
Well, I mean, we could start them at 15 as long as they know we're starting them at 15,
Yeah.
although Tom might have something to say about that.
I think it's actually better for Tom.
Yeah?
Because he still survives a hit from Dreadnought, and it just makes his Psychatog like quicker to be lethal. So I think it actually would favor Tom compared to Aaron. But
Interesting.
maybe you're worried about taking 3 points of damage from your lands, but I don't know. So do you think Aaron's chances get better with these games? Or do you think things get tougher for him?
It's kind of a mix, right? Because they get a little better for Tom because he has more removal, but Aaron has more too. I'd say they might get probably a little bit better for Aaron than for Tom.
I think they get better for Tom. So
Really?
yeah, I think he
Those
just
three
has a.
swords to plowshares are so good.
Yeah, the thing is though, like Tom can just wait. Like all his answers are just really efficient. Like cards like a null and whatnot. Like Aaron's answers like Mana Leak and Daze get worse as the game go longer. And the cyber games, I think, when people are bringing more interaction, will go longer. And so Aaron's disruption becomes less effective when a card like a null will just always counter the dreadnought,
Yeah,
and
very
that
good.
just opens up more opportunities for him to draw his sideboard cards and then like just wait for the spot. He's like, okay, I can just wait until I won't play a Psychatog until I have a Circular Logic or a Duress in play. There might be spots, I guess, like if a Planar Void comes down, then things are a lot trickier because the amount of time that Tom uses to find answers isn't really helping his Psychatog get bigger. But I think in general, I think as time goes on, it favors Tom. We have a follow from Goblins with Hats. Those seem like the best kind of goblins, especially if they're like party hats or something.
What's the card where they have hats, like Goblin Demolition Team or?
Oh, I was I was typing in Mon's Goblin Raiders, but uh, um, Goblin Digging Theme. Is this? Or are you talking about like an unglued card? I mean, is a helmet a hat? Oh, uh,
Is it Goblin Digging Team?
that's a hat, right? It looks almost like a plunger. I don't know.
Oh, that's the one I'm thinking of.
All
The
right.
traditional one. Yeah.
There's got to be more goblins with hats.
There's a Dwarven Demolition Team, but it's a Goblin Digging Team.
Does this guy have a hat? It's a helmet. If a helmet's a hat, then
A helmet's a hat.
All right.
Sure.
Then Goblin War Buggy, I think
The War
counts.
Buggy. Woo!
Oh, it's funny, Gabe. I didn't, or Absolute GG. I didn't even see your comment. But yes. Antiquities. There's a Goblin from Antiquities. I'm with Hat says it totally counts, and I think if we're gonna take anyone's word, it should be from him.
Yeah, that's appropriate. Is it Goblin Artisans? Oh yeah, from Antiquities. Yep, I remember those guys.
Okay. All right, so I believe Aaron Mulligan to 6, and he'll start things off with a City of Brass. Take a damage to cast Duress. And we see Counterspell, Intuition, and Duress. So it's kind of fun. Not fun. Excuse me. The pretzels are drying my throat. But I was going to say, I guess he has 2 Counterspells, but it is awkward if you lead with Duress, that it's going to be an additional turn before you cast Counterspell because he has Swamp Island. So.
Yep. So we're thinking Aaron has like a Dreadnought and then some measure of redundancy in the other card. Or maybe he just doesn't. He maybe just kept a hand with more disruption. We'll see.
Or maybe the Duress will miss, and there's just Dreadnoughts in his hand.
4 Dreadnoughts.
I don't think he has 4 cards left in his hand.
3 Dreadnoughts.
Okay. I mean, some of them could be Lance, but
So what are we waiting on here?
all right, if we're on Tom's turn, right? So he's debating on which land he wants to play because he's got a face down card. So that was the one he drew.
All right, he is going to Duress.
All right. Is it three of a kind? Is it three dreadnoughts?
Go, Dreadnoughts. Probably not if Aaron's thinking about it this much.
What does he have for one mana? Inline tutor. Okay.
Uh,
All right. He opts not to cast the inline tutor.
yeah, that's probably
That,
a good idea.
that was a pretty strong mulligan to 6 that he had a disruption piece and then the combo on turn 2. So why wouldn't you take duress there? If from Aaron, if you just take duress, you're not going to get counterspelled at the end of turn. You enlighten tutor for dreadnought, and then you just put it into play.
Mm-hmm. Good question.
All right, so accumulated knowledge. That's a nice way to fill in the turn that Tom has, since he doesn't have blue up for counterspell. He has the accumulated knowledge.
Guess what?
What?
Guess what? He has double blue now.
Yes, and things are going to get difficult for Aaron, I think. So that intuition is going to stay there. I might. Would you just? I might just use that opportunity just to fire off and get 3 accumulated knowledges. Because I don't know. Because intuition doesn't do as good of a job getting sideboard cards, and I might just want to be tempted just to use my mana. And if Aaron is to use a card like Mana Leak or Daze on an intuition, I don't think you're the most unhappy. Phil is cheering for Tog. Tog with a lot of G's.
Dog.
His comical flop is the counter and cheers for not. All right, Aaron is fetching for an island that might be. Oh, he's just, I think, thinning out his deck right now.
Nougat, says Ron.
All right, so what does Aaron need to do kind of in this position? You know that there's a counter spell on hand, and as the game goes on, there's only going to be more disruption on Tom. Is there?
I don't know. It just gets worse and worse and worse for him. Like, I mean, he's hoping to build up a hand that can obviously, fight through the counter magic, but he also then has to have a way to protect his Tog.
Mm-hmm.
Or his not his Tog, excuse me, his Dreadnoughts. So I
Yeah,
just got Tog on the brain as well.
Yeah, because it
Tog and a
doesn't seem
Monogamy.
unlikely that at this point, like Tom, or as the game goes on, it's likely that he finds one of the hard removal spells, or the Diabolic Edicts, or the Vendettas, or the Smothers. So even if he is able to win a counter magic war and get it into play, keeping it in play is not a guarantee. Do you think Tom is weary of a card like Swords to Plowshares from Aaron? Here, I mean, like, you'd be able to play Tog and counter it. Though I guess it would probably come at the end of Aaron's turn, so you might be afraid if you pick a fight over a counterspell at the end of your turn that you might be facing down a Dreadnought.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he's waiting to try and be able to fight both.
Yeah, both players here are really going to try to sculpt their hands, and then we'll see who makes the first move.
Well, I mean, as long as Tom is hitting land drops, I think it will definitely advantage him. So we get an Elaine Tutor fetching the Planar Void.
So does that mean Aaron's going to go for it?
I think this is counterbait. Like, um,
Right, but I'm just saying, like, if he's going to, like, run out a known card, he's obviously wants to, if it gets countered, follow it up with the combo.
he might have some way of, or just protecting this, but I guess this is a good measure of saying, like, yeah, I mean, maybe he has it right away. Because if the game progresses, then Tom gets less an advantage just by not putting extra cards in the graveyard. So, and here we have, okay, so Winter Orb, that was probably his plan, is make him tap down some mana and then try and fight that way. But
not as good against a Gush deck though, right? I mean, it's still decent against Factor Fiction or things like that, but
Tom's willing to fight over this, so.
yeah. All right, he's got 2 mana left. Are we going to see it? No.
Yeah, there's 2 cards, 2 mana. It was not a Dreadnought plus whatnot. So here we Tog coming into play. Yeah.
Here comes the Tog.
Doesn't look like it's lethal yet.
Here comes the Tog. 2, 3, 4. Not yet. That end of turn intuition into a Gush is going to look pretty sweet. Or accumulated knowledge. He's got 1 in the graveyard. Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yeah. That would be pretty good. So Aaron with 3 in hand. Just passing the turn here.
Mm-hmm. And his life will tick down, and I imagine soon it will. If Aaron doesn't do something quickly, then soon Tom is gonna figure out a way. I'm a little surprised that this intuition has not been used to find. Maybe there's an accumulated knowledge in his hand, but you would have thought that one would have been played. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's Tom, and he obviously wants to win the game as soon as he can, but he's not really under any pressure yet. Like Aaron kind of has to make the first move here, right?
Yeah, I mean, if everything stays the same, then Tom is easily going to win. Like it shouldn't even be that many more turns, I would think.
No. Maybe he's got like a Factor Fiction and he wants 1 more land so he can intuition, and then if it gets countered, he can Factor Fiction.
I don't know if he's like using this Factor Fiction of like a break in case of emergency kind of thing, like get 3 removal spells or whatnot. I'm not sure.
Oh God, Aaron's dead.
All right, duress shows that there is just a Dreadnought hanging on his hand now after the mana leak gets taken, and so I have to imagine. So if you just intuition for accumulate knowledge and draw 4 cards,
yeah,
that seems pretty good to me.
6, 7.
I think, gosh,
8, 9, 10, right. 11. Yeah, Aaron's dead.
I guess that puts an equal amount of cards in your hand.
Sure.
So.
All right.
So Psychatog seems to be doing his Psychatog thing. And I believe, is this the first win that the Psychatog deck has had in the Showdown series, or is this the second?
I feel like he won another game with Psychatog, but maybe I'm just thinking of the one that you and I commentated on for Gordon.
Can't remember
now. Let me look. I'll pull up our schedule here and see. So Tom has played Psychatog. He played it against Ron the very first week. I think he lost that one.
That was the Suicide Black, yeah.
He played it against Draco Blast, against Jared.
And Jared won that, I think, right? It was really close, but yeah.
Yeah, I think Jared beat him.
All right. Meanwhile, the Tog has finished off Aaron, and
Yeah, Jared beat him.
Tom takes him down. So I'm going to jump over to listen into the players.
So yeah, it is the first one.
Nope.
I need to strip his counter spells, and his dress can take my multiple stifle effects.
No, I specifically looked at it and I'm like, there's nothing in here that I'm worried about making that play. And I looked past it or something. I don't know. I completely blanked, and you read out what was in your hand. So it's like, I don't know.
Damn.
Hey.
Oh, hold on.
Talking about that duress on duress action.
But you played tight as ever, man.
Well, I appreciate that. You played good too. Even game 2 was still close.
Yeah, I didn't seem to be able to draw like at the right time. It felt like. So, my master sideboard plan was just the dazes and a seal for some graveyard hate and some swords.
Yeah, I had Snap, Edict,
Yep.
and then 3 and Null. I took out Best Bolt Fed, and then 2 Factor Fiction's important, and Logic. Logic is just worse probably than a Null here. It's clunky if I don't have Psychatog.
Yeah. Honestly, deck is great. Needs to see more play. I love that deck.
Yeah, I think I know we talked about it a little bit. I think Psychatog might be a little favored with Stiflenought because it's got disruption counters and removal.
Oh yeah, it's got the anti-combo pieces.
Yeah.
It's good. I thought that we were going to see the other ones. I really, really, really strongly considered playing elves, and then like at the last minute, I'm like, yeah, but he's going to think I'm playing elves. So
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta unmute these guys.
You hear us now?
Hey guys.
Howdy.
Hello, hello. Congratulations, Tom.
Thank you. Yeah, that was it's playing against Stiflenought. It's always scary. You don't know what the hell's gonna happen.
I have a question for you, Aaron. Do you want to walk us through that duress on game 2, the beginning?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Can you walk us through your thought process on the duress on the beginning of game 2?
Yeah, I was just telling him we were talking about it during the game too. I completely missed his duress. I looked straight past it, didn't even see it.
Oh no.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
had the turn 2 play and I didn't see it. And then when he played a duress, I was like, and he still had the card face down. I'm like, wait, did you have a duress? We had this like pause moment of like, oh man.
Wait a second. Why do you have a Jaguar symbol in the background?
Jaguar symbol? What Jaguar symbol? What are you talking about?
On your monitor?
Oh no.
Huh?
Oh no. I know what that's for. Flint doesn't get it.
I'm about to close out the screen.
It's not so bad though that you had the victory for the PSS though. There would definitely be some extra salt in the wound if that were the case. But
oh my god, it's like that is salt in the wound. This is
I'm sorry.
This is Josh Allen's high school, man. I oh my god, I just say that is so messed up. Wait, why do you have Jaguars? Why do you have a Jaguars hat? Did you buy it for
No,
this?
actually, it's a joke between friends and I. It's like we all sort of halfway as a to root for a bad team and all root for the same bad team. We just kind of like picked a bad team to root for. I didn't want to tell you when we were talking football at the start of this.
It's a football thing.
we never filled in Flint, and so yes, the Jaguars beat the Bills this last Sunday. So
I'm like, I'm playing
upset,
Tom.
so.
I got it. Tom, what a week to play Tom.
Aaron, that made my night, man. That is funny. Man.
I think I would appreciate it even more if that was the reason why he went out and bought it. But,
but just the fact he zooms in with the hat, so good.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
I gotta be honest though, there are Jaguars fans. I've never seen a Jaguars hat. So like, who in the hell? I mean, I know you did it out of a bet, but who the hell would buy that shit? Like, oh
That's
man,
why you got to root for the
no.
Packers.
Yes. All right, Tom. I do have a question about the game. I would have thought that intuition would have got cast a little bit earlier. Is there a reason that you were holding on to it?
yeah, I didn't know what the last 3 cards were, so I figured I can keep chipping away and play patient. And I portent to let's see, counterspell, smother. I think it was counterspell, smother, counterspell. So I knew it was like I can be very patient here, and then kind of wait and go off in one turn. Then I hit the duress, so that like opened the gates for me to be like, okay, I can just do it now. But I was worried he might have swords in his hand, so I wanted like 2 counterspells to be safe. But I felt like playing tight might have been correct.
Okay. Yeah, I just you had the option of getting 3 accumulated knowledges and drawing 4, so that seemed pretty juicy and tempting. So
I was going to do it, but I think the one turn I was like, I think I had 5 mana, and I didn't have the counterspell yet. I don't think, and I would have lost to leak if he had mana leak.
okay.
So I was, I wanted to be cautious. And then I thought too, I was like, if I guess my plan was going to be the intuition for the AKs, like you mentioned. But once I got him to 13, with me keeping 2 cards in hand, I was like, I can get gushes. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Let me just briefly go back and chat and see anything.
While you're doing that, Aaron, why didn't you play elves?
Because I didn't want to do elves versus his other deck. I didn't want to do elves versus Devourer.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured.
Yeah, we talked
And why-
about that. That'd probably be horrific. For
Why not
elves.
Devourer, Tom?
Dude, I guess Psychatog FaceTime.
Okay. Show off that big smile.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I actually thought it was I felt favored against both. I think Devour was going to be really rough with Stiflenought. I just thought Psychatog was good, especially with Elves post board. Like Elves might win game 1, but like Engineered Plague's backbreaking, and so is the one Perish, and then removal. Yeah, I felt pretty good, and I knew the Stiflenought matchup was favored for Psychatog. I played that a few times. But I thought Aaron was going to bring elves, so I was preparing for that.
I had really planned to. When I banned goblins, like my thought was, oh, he's going to ban Sly and I'll bring elves. I just assumed that Sly was getting banned because it seemed like it had the best matchup against all of your decks out of anything. And the whole, if you were just going to ban the best deck, I think you banned Sly. So I figured that was getting banned, and I just tried to play the guessing game of what you were going to wind up on, and I should have. If I'd have thought you were going to grab Psychatog, I would have grabbed elves.
Yeah, it might be a little bit closer.
Fair enough. Okay, cool. We had a question in chat. Why not play Prohibit, guys, in either of your decks?
You know who that's coming from, right?
That's
Punch?
from Gabe.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I don't even.
Yeah. I mean, I am a fan of Prohibit. I think Prohibit is a good card to like. I think it's better than the Stiflenought deck because I think it's better at protecting like a Dreadnought, because almost all of the answers 100%. That people are going to play to answer a Dreadnought are going to be 1 and 2 mana. I think it's not quite as good in Psychatog, but
that's the biggest change I want to make to this deck, actually.
Yeah, actually, I told Aaron something, but I didn't mention this part of it. But I think my friend Evan and I built a deck, and I think it's the best Prohibit deck. And that's all I'm going to say.
Nice.
Cool.
Because I might be playing it right now in the monthly.
Is that because it's the only Prohibit deck?
Maybe.
But I don't know. Things might change. I don't know. I think Prohibit's fine.
For the deck that we have. Yeah. No,
I like Prohibit. I have played Prohibit in other decks. I should have it in this one.
Guys, I built the best Catacomb Dragon deck.
Because it's the only one. No, I mean, Prohibit makes sense in Stiflenought too, right? You're all low to the ground, 1 mana spells, so makes sense.
Yeah, I need more hard counters.
Fair enough.
All right, cool. Well, I think that we can let you guys go, and we will get things set up for our second match. So, thank you, players, and we will see you. Actually, we will see Tom later this week because you have a makeup match. So
Nice.
Um, so yeah. So
All right,
Cool.
guys.
Thanks, guys.
have a good one.
All right. See you.
All right. I guess I should briefly talk about our schedule. I don't think I mentioned this before our match, but I did talk about in the standings that Tom and it was Brian, right? Or no, Ben. Or Tom and Ben had their match was not played on Thursday, and now they will make it up on Thursday. So we are going to be starting early. I guess here I am in chat and telling someone that we always start at 10 p.m. Eastern. And our next episode, we're going to be starting an hour early. So we will be having 3 full matches on Thursday in a couple of days. We're going to be starting things off with the makeup match between Ben and Tom. So we will start at 9 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, and then have that match, and then we'll have John against James, and then Ben against Ron. So, yes, Thursday, 3 matches of Premodern Showdown Series 3. Be there, be a little bit early, and so maybe we'll be a little more East Coasters, because I know some of them go to bed early, because we do start pretty late. So, with that, we're going to take a quick break as we get Brian and Jared set up for our second match. So don't go anywhere. Just hang out and chat. We'll try and keep each other entertained, and we'll be back shortly. Okay, everybody, we are back from our break. We have Brian and Jared set up. So, Clint, you ready to talk about some bands and make a prediction?
I guess. Whew, the pressure.
Here we go. Okay, so Brian has brought 4-color Terrageddon, Survival Elves, and Sly. His Sly deck is banned. Jared has brought Goblins, Draco Blast, and 5-color Terrageddon. So he's one-upped Brian. His Draco Blast deck has been banned. Alright, Flint. Now is the time. Tell us what they're playing. Or prediction. You don't know. I do, but...
So I really don't want to see a 5-color Terrageddon mirror. But it would be hilarious because Jared said he hates mirrors in the chat earlier. So maybe I kind of want to see that. But I would love to see a tribal match. So odds be damned. I want to see elves versus goblins. Although I think we're probably going to see 5-color Terrageddon versus goblins. But I'm going to say elves versus goblins because that's what I really want to see.
Okay. Like the tribal dual deck. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go over, and Brian is playing 4-color Terrageddon. Okay, so
yeah, makes sense.
What this deck wants to do, we've seen it a number of times, so briefly, get some mana on the board, get a land tax into play, either get a bunch of lands, and then maybe play like a werebear or something, get a little bit of board presence, and then blow up all the lands. And everything is kind of tied together with an Enlightened Tutor package, so it can play some Silver Bullets, and there's a couple of Terravores, which everyone can enjoy. Really close out the game after an Armageddon. One thing to note about Brian's list is there are 2 copies of Engineered Plague in the main, which is... I think I've seen one in some copies, but I don't know if that was a hedge that Brian did against some of the tribal decks in this format, but I really like the idea of playing 2 in the main in this list. Is there anything else you want to add about this deck?
Nope.
Okay, so deck number 2, Jared is playing Goblins. So
okay.
As the card, as I mentioned, of Engineered Plague probably will come into play. But what this deck is trying to do is kill you quick. And it has the power of Goblin Lackey that can just be super explosive. And you really have to respect Goblin Lackey when you're building a deck in Premodern. But one thing to note is Jared is playing green cards in the sideboard for cards like Naturalize, which I think might be a player. So I will jump over to our key cards. And this is from a different match, so let me bring up the new ones. And just a moment.
Man, I can't wait for Goblins to play Psychatog.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Brian will never see it coming.
All right, here we go. This seems a little bit more. Okay, Engineered Plague. No, that card does not have the little sideboard tag because there are the 2 copies in the main deck, and there's Enlightened Tutors to get it. I think that will be the big card in the deck for Brian. And then Swords of Plowshares is just kind of the failsafe. It is the cleanest answer to a turn 1 Goblin Lackey for Brian, and it never really gets bad. So I think the removal and that really nice Engineered Plague, I think, will be the cards that Brian is looking for in this match. And then on Jared's side, just the power of Goblin Lackey really kind of changes the game. Definitely makes how Brian mulligans or thinks about his opening hands, because games can be very different if a Goblin Lackey goes unanswered. And then out of the sideboard are the 4 copies of Naturalize, which there is no shortage of targets for Jared to point at. There are primarily the Engineered Plagues. That's a nice clean answer that Jared has. But I mean, things like land tax or maybe even like a Zurin Orb, or I'm trying to think other cards. I don't know if you want to use it on the seal of removal, but I've seen weirder things happen. But one thing I forgot to do is we got to do our get to know the players. So I'm going to try and run through this quick. I know Brian and Jared are waiting, but we'll go back to Tom, who just played his match with Psychatog, but asked the players what their favorite thing about Premodern is and diversity. So I'm assuming that's talking about deck diversity, but maybe he's just talking about the different people that play it. Maybe it's both. I don't know. Either way, I guess you could make an argument for it. So, proudest Magic accomplishment, he said. He got second at the 2016 Vintage New York. Is it Stacks Exchange? Is that? I think
I don't know.
I think that's what that term is called. I know I've read it. I don't remember. With Grixis Pyromancer, so just fell short of that first place. So then his proudest non-Magic accomplishment is being a dad. So which he's got another one on the way. So congratulations to Tom. Which Magic card have you cast the most? He says Fact or Fiction, so that plays into his Psychatog. Though I don't think he cast it that last match, did he? Oh yes, he did. I think he at the end, because we were talking about the math. Okay, so he +1 to the Fact or Fiction on his count. And the best breakfast cereal, according to Tom, is Cocoa Pebbles. Do you like Cocoa Pebbles?
Good choice.
Right.
I love Cocoa Pebbles.
All right, moving on.
They are far superior to Cocoa Krispies. Far superior.
I don't even know if I do know the difference in a blind taste test. But we'll go to Aaron Dix. His favorite thing about Premodern, he says he loves the diversity of decks and loves the balance and preservation of the color wheel. Proudest Magic accomplishment, he says he's happy to play and enjoy the game, but I'm most proud of making a positive impact on the community. That's pretty cool. Proudest non-Magic accomplishment, just getting the point in life where I really can't complain about anything. And that, I think I never really realized it, but that was kind of just what I wanted, as at least financially, is just that I just didn't really have to worry about the normal things in life. And so it's a good thing to be proud of. Which card have you cast the most? So I'll be honest, when I was typing this up, I just typed in Lightning Bolt, and then I went to check Aaron's answer, and it turns out it's actually Counterspell, and he noted it's been legal in the most formats. So surprising to me, I would have guessed Lightning Bolt, but Aaron says it's Counterspell, so that's cool. And best breakfast cereal is Trio. Do you know what that is?
I just looked it up. It looks like some strange Nestle German cereal.
I looked it up too. I think I saw some DuckTales on it. I don't know if that has to do with part of the reason why he likes it, but I had never heard of it before.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was like, did he mean Trix? And he just had a bit of a typo there, but no, Trio is a cereal.
I thought of Team Cheerios for some reason, but I don't know. So we're on to Brian. His favorite thing about Premodern is it's a well-balanced, deep, nostalgic format. So I think we all enjoy that. So it's whether I mean, actually, some people have shown some interest, even though maybe nostalgia isn't the driving factor. But his proudest Magic accomplishment, he has top 8'd the Star City Games Baltimore Legacy tournament with Blue Painter, in which he started 0-2. So quite a turnaround for that deck, and I think that was, I mean, I don't know if it was his own deck design, but it was definitely like something that people weren't expected, or it was a pretty big brew. I mean, I don't even know. I feel like most Painter decks are mono red, if
Yeah, the
anything.
Red
So
Wings.
proudest non-Magic accomplishment. He says, in 2020, I set out to post a humor article and comedy video on my website every day. There were a few notes, and so I think he's done it for over a year. Let me bring up my additional notes on this one. So content will be about that day's food holiday, and he said he completed his mission and now have a body of work that includes 366 articles and videos. So it's pretty cool to have that consistent effort to do that. So well done, Brian.
Yeah, very cool.
He has cast Lightning Bolt the most, so that's a good one to cast. I enjoy a good Lightning Bolt. And he says the best breakfast cereal is Frosted Mini Wheats. Don't know if I could agree there, but
They're solid, but they're not in my top tier.
I guess I'll do my caveat that I eat cereal dry, so I think that probably skews all my perceptions. So
that would not be well. Actually, that one's actually okay to eat dry.
It's fine. It is a very dry cereal. So
it is super dry.
So,
yeah.
On to Jared. So he likes deck diversity and nostalgia. So kind of a recurring theme here. So his proudest Magic accomplishment is building the community of New England old school and pre-modern. And Jared was one of like the early tournament organizers of Premodern. I think now he's more devoted his focus to the New England old school community, as others have kind of taken that torch. Not that he still does stuff in tournaments. He's done like the Winter Blast and the Midsummer Revel, so it's not like he's absent. But he is very involved, I know, in the old school community as well. Proudest non-Magic accomplishment, he is the 7th grade Rivers Middle School Geography B champion. I think I got like 3rd place in my Geography B, but my school is also tiny. So Geography B, underrated. I was not that good at spelling bees, so Geography B is where it's at. He has cast Lightning Bolt the most, which does not surprise me given that he loves red decks and plays a lot of old school and plays pre-modern, so Lightning Bolt it is.
What have you cast the most, Mike?
I think it's Lightning Bolt. I tried to think of a clever card that was not that, but I don't know. It's probably that.
Gotcha.
Best breakfast cereal, he says Honey Nut Cheerios. I guess that he also added the note. Let me pull it up. Just so I get it correct. He says, Honey Nut Cheerios, but it gives me the worst gas. So now that we're...
now we are intimately familiar with the players.
Yes. All right. So now you guys get to know a little bit more about our players. Maybe a little bit too much, but yes, you could thank Jared for that. All right. Now we're on to the match. Flint, you can let our players know we're ready to start. We have, I got to set up the poll. We have Brian on 4-color Terrageddon and Jared on Goblins. So I got to do the prediction results as well. I forgot to do that. Let's figure that out. So start a prediction.
I don't know if you can see the chat.
I
be right back.
I have it minimized right now, but
You may have had some Honey Nut Cheerios. I beat you to a run.
All right, poll is up. So vote and win big. something explosive start. All right. Yes.
Oh goodness.
Perfect.
I think the card that I probably cast the most while we're waiting is probably Force of Will.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of combo decks that I've run it in, and a lot of I've actually played a fair amount of Control in my day too, especially in Legacy.
Yeah, I guess Premodern is probably not helping you with that count. So.
No, it's I imagine another couple of years it will change, but at least historically, played a lot of Force of Will.
All right, and from Jared, we see a turn 1, a Goblin Lackey. So, Flint, will this Goblin Lackey connect?
No.
Is this a Swords of Plowshares? Or is there going to be like a Werebear or Meddling Mage to get in the way? I see a basic Plains.
He's going to be a Swords to Plowshares. Yeah, Enlightened Tutor is well on its way, Aaron, for sure.
I guess you play a variety of too many different pre-modern decks, so.
Do play my fair share, but I love Enlightened Tutor, as I think most people probably know at this point.
All right, so the Plains gets picked up thanks to a Dromar's Cavern. So there was no Swords of Plowshares. Just a Meddling Mage. So what are you naming here?
Mog Fanatic? No, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's Mog Fanatic.
Pile Driver?
Maybe.
Ringleader?
I think those are more reasonable answers. I was just don't say Gem Home Incinerator. Do you think Meddling Mage has ever named Gem Home Incinerator?
Probably not.
I feel like there's got to be some scenario, but it seems like not a very good name. So
If you squint according to Comical Flop, the Plains turns into a Savannah.
Savannah does have.
It's very similar.
Yeah. Also, just some not exciting art, given how powerful the card is.
Pile Driver was named, by the way. So we see a Ringleader into another Ringleader and a Mog Fanatic. Pretty good.
Aaron wants me to flip the camera so that the players can tap to the right.
Nice. The correct way.
All right, so the Ringleader that got. I wasn't paying attention, so I guess the lackey didn't attack it because of the Meddling Mage. So right. Ringleader revealed a Ringleader and a Mog Fanatic. So, lackey gets blocked. So now Jared can. Did they tell us what that Meddling Mage named?
Yeah, it was Pile Driver.
Okay.
So he's sacking the Ringleader?
Yeah, I think he wants to get. He's using it for mana to get rid of the Meddling Mage, and he wants to keep the Skirk Prospector. Oh, I was just saying he wants to keep the Skirk Prospector around, but that's not the case. He's going to use it to change into a lackey. So, Jared's definitely using his resources aggressively. So it looks like his hand's got to be kind of loaded, is what I have. I mean, we know there's a Ringleader there, so he can kind of give up a little bit of card advantage for trying to close up the game a little quicker.
Here comes trouble, though.
Yep, Engineered Plague is getting shuffled to the top thanks to Enlightened Tutor.
It's really hard for him to win game 1 with an Engineered Plague in play.
Yeah, Goblin Pile Driver is probably the best way to do it, but a lot of his creatures.
He needs a critical mass of goblins, though, to do that.
Just all Pile Drivers all day long.
All day I dream about Pile Drivers.
Because now War Chiefs, Ringleaders, Pile Drivers, those stay in play. Siege Gang Commander kind of stays in play. Was that a complete whiff?
3 lands and a Hearth Charm.
All right, well, not the best 4-mana 1/1 haster that you've ever cast, but so I don't know which way's which for the life totals. I think Brian might be at 15 and Jared might be at 16. No, Jared's at 15 because he's taken 2 Ancient Tombs and a fetch land. So
Jared's down to 14.
how much would you cast for a 1/1 haster? Because Jared would pay 4 mana. I'd pay 1. I paid 1 my day.
A little Raging Goblin action.
Yeah. I played with the starter version. Oh, no, not that one.
There's a portal version too, right?
Yeah, but I can't bring up portal cards in my little card fetcher.
One of them has really good flavor text.
Yes, that was the one I know. Oh. Oh. Was it ever printed in like a... I think it was only in like supplemental sets. It was, he raged at the world, he raged at his family, he raged at something, but mostly he just raged. I don't know, I'm not doing it justice. Anyways, a scroll rack has been added, and actually, wow, Jared, in terms of when we talked about how difficult it would be for him to deal damage, adding a pile driver and a war chief allows him to attack. It was for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 damage. So even given that there's an engineered play in play, this is pretty good.
So Raging Goblin was an Exodus, apparently.
Oh yeah, that one had different art though. Now that I think about it, like this art is not my favorite.
So another ringleader from Jared here.
Well, that would be so 1, 2, 3.
Ooh.
3. This is 9 damage.
2, 4, 6.
It's 3 from the powered
7, 8, 9.
goblins,
Yeah.
and then 6 from the pile driver. I guess Jared's at a lot less life, but yeah, if there's no removal spell here, oh, there is. No, we're scroll racking. Okay, there's just 1 card. Well, Brian, flip it over. This little Swords to Plowshares here. He's gonna let it shine. I'm waiting. No.
Oh, he's packing them up.
So wow, through an engineered play that wiped Jared's board. Jared's able to cast a 4-mana 1/1 haste, and then like 2 turns later win the game.
Seems pretty good.
I have to think like Jared's like pretty excited to win that game.
Yeah,
Like I
have to agree.
I would not have expected from that board position for the Goblin stack to take that game down.
Well, let's see how things change after board. So if you're Brian, what are you thinking here, Mike?
So I talk a lot about like Circle Protection Red against decks like Goblins, and I'm personally not that big of a fan. I think it's still probably something you bring in, but I think its efficiency is not that good. Though, like in that board state, I guess it would have been fine, but if there's no engineered plague in play, like a lot of times you can, if given time, like the Goblins deck can attack for a bunch, you have to decide to sink your mana, and then they can just set up like Siege Gang Commander and Goblin Sharpshooter and just play around the Circle Protection Red. So not my favorite card, but still is probably coming in. Card like Smother is fine. Another spot removal that hits most of the creatures of the Goblin deck. The other Engineered Plague seems great. Wrath of God seems great. So I expect all those to come in. I mean, you might... I wonder if you take out Armageddon's in this matchup.
I was just going to ask you.
Obviously, Goblins is the aggressor, but it is like pretty mana hungry in terms of like, if you don't get that nice sequence of like Goblin lackeys or whatnot, then you're casting your spells, and some of the goblins are like pretty expensive, so I don't know. That'll be interesting to see if those get sideboarded out. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think I would take out Aura of Silence, Sylvan Library, and maybe one Armageddon for a Wrath of God, Engineered Plague, and
Smother.
Circle of Protection or Smother.
Okay. All right, onto the goblin sideboard. So Forest, I think will come in.
Probably.
Is Goblin Tinker worth it?
Probably.
I mean,
let me look at Brian's deck here again. Obviously, it's getting Scroll Rack. Yeah, I mean, Mox Diamonds, Scroll Racks.
Okay. Getting Mox Diamond excites me. Like the Scroll Rack was huge. Fine, but I don't think you ever really want to like use your Goblin Matron on a Tinker just to blow up Scroll Rack. But it hitting Diamond I think makes it a lot more exciting to me, and staying alive in that aspect. So Naturalize, all 4 of those I would expect to come in. Do you bring in Caller the Claw?
I would. And you could make the argument that maybe it's too many cards, and so it's going to really affect your ringleader hits. How many Wrath of Gods does Brian have? If he brings in 1, does he have any others main deck?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so. So it's really just an Engineered Plague or the 1 Wrath of God where he's going to be forced to use it because Brian's not running Cataclysm. So maybe Caller's less good, actually.
The one thing that is nice is like it's a way to play around Engineered Plague that you might have like a Mog Fanatic or a Skirk Prospector in your hand, and after an Engineered Plague. So even if like you're just like turn 5, you just go like Mog Fanatic, Skirk Prospector, those die, Caller the Claw, and you get two bears. And so you've presented a new threat after Engineered Plague. So I mean, I could see some merit of like trying to set something like that up, but I don't know. I think Goblin King will come in as a way to protect against the Engineered Plague.
Yeah. What are you going to take out, though? I mean, that is so many cards.
Hearth Charm. I think Mog Fanatic. Probably Mog Fanatic. I was going to say it takes out Werebear, but I would take out... You might take out Sharpshooter, but I don't know. Maybe 1. I guess I could leave 1 in. Obviously, there's a lot of value of leaving in 1 copy of a card because of Goblin Matron.
Mm-hmm.
But probably the Mog Fanatics.
So you take out the 4 Fanatics and the 2 Heart Charms. It's fit 6 slots, so that's 4 Naturalizes, a Tinkerer, and the Goblin King right there.
Yep. And then I'd swap. Okay. I guess you could take out a Wasteland for a Forest. Like, I don't think Wasteland's that good against Brian. I guess there's Undiscovered Paradise and then also his own Wastelands. So most of his lands are basics because of the land tax. So
still 2 more cards though if you bring in Caller of the Claw. I don't know.
Goblins, I know some people cut Goblin Ringleader because they feel like it's less effective, but I don't know. I think that's one of just like the really good Goblin cards, and like even if on average you're drawing like 1 less card, I mean, like if you're bringing in 6 cards, that's what I don't know what that would make the difference. And 2 of those cards you're taking out are Hearth Charms anyways, so it's like I don't know. I don't think it plays with affects the numbers that much, but
yeah. Okay. Well, we will see what they do. Let's make sure that we ask them about that. Should I let them know to go ahead and start game 2?
Yes.
Done. Let's get it on. Who's winning in the poll?
I guess I can bring it up. I was to say I don't know how to check it without like answering it, but I can.
Okay.
Everyone said Jared.
Everyone
put their bet on Jared. So no Brian believers. Brian's mom is not watching, and if she is, that is embarrassing that she would not vote for Brian.
Comical flop. That would be our puppy Rusty barking in the background. My apologies. He's got a lot of moxie, that kid.
All right, we've got turn 1 tax and turn 1 Goblin Lackey. Which turn 1 play do you like better? Well, it's line tutor, not land tax. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so is there a mock time to go with this in line tutor?
Most likely.
All right.
I'll see if I can put Rusty on camera later. Comical flop. Oh goodness! All right, well, I'll make sure I get him. It's getting serious in chat.
Well,
maybe no Mox Diamond. So he says, "All right, we'll do a seal first."
Yeah, that's a way to slow things down, and so seal of removal will bounce the Goblin Lackey. And
Be gone, Lackey.
Jared doesn't even put it back in his hand; he just casts it right away.
He just taps him out instead of putting it back in his hand.
All right, so if this Goblin Lackey connects, so okay, I guess Brian does have other cards in hand, obviously, but it's not like his hand was revealed to us. It's just those are the cards that Jared knows about, thanks to the Treva's Ruin and the engine or the inline tutor. So there's okay, so the Plains is played. We have a scroll rack, so the coast appears to be clear for the Goblin Lackey.
So he wants to connect and play what? A ringleader or a war chief?
Something with 2 power or 2 toughness.
2 toughness, yeah.
A Goblin King. That is probably what he wants the most. But
King would be epic.
mhm.
Yeah, maybe a matron here for a king.
Yeah, that would be. Yep.
Yeah. Very good.
Yes, so let's bring up
Foglio art.
good old 5th edition.
Yeah.
I dig this one.
Yeah, me too.
So I think I used the 7th edition one, which I do like that one too. I actually don't particularly like the art on the original. But
Is it too scary for you?
I don't know, I just
Does it give you nightmares?
nope.
We can talk about it.
Nope. We got Flint using his education and trying to delve deep into my
We'll
thoughts.
talk about it after. Don't worry.
All right, so Goblin King is in play thanks to the Goblin Lackey. What does Brian do here? He needs like a Swords to Plowshares after his Engineered Plague comes down, but he might not have that much time. These goblins
land Wrath of God, land Mox Wrath of God would be good.
Yeah.
If he's living the dreams, but you're right. He doesn't have much time.
Because Jared still has a number of cards in his hand too, and like if any of them are Goblin Matron or Goblin Ringleader, those are super good. I mean, there aren't really bad goblins at this point because they're all going to stay alive. Oh, the second layer land from Brian. I guess it's funny that we talked about that there weren't that many wasteland targets from Brian, but think how this game would have went if his lair land just got blown up.
Right.
All right, we see a Mox Diamond, but it seemed like it was a little bit late, so Engineered Plague is in play. But Jared's already prepared for this.
So do you think Brian had the Mox Diamond, but he was waiting and getting greedy to run out the scroll rack?
Well, no, I don't think so. I think you would have just discarded the lair land.
Fair enough.
I mean, I guess maybe he's or maybe there was a spot where he's thinking if Jared has naturalized, then he only like answers the lackey. But I don't know. It's pretty scary to take a lackey hit.
Yeah.
Ron says, I think he got the Mox off the rack activation. Yeah, that's possible.
Maybe. Based on the sequencing, though, I don't know.
All right. In comes the team. This is for 3 damage. But there's a lackey trigger. We're debating damage.
It's just one from the king, one from the lackey, and one from the matron, right?
Yeah, I think they're looking at, because their errata is that Goblin King is a goblin, but it's all other goblins get +1/+1 in Mount Walk. So it's not like the Goblin King is a 3/3. It is a 2/2 on its own. So all the creatures, I guess maybe they were thinking that is Goblin King a goblin, but yes, it is. You can search it with Goblin Matron. No, the original printing it was not, but
Lord,
there is a War Chief, and then ooh.
What does that do?
A hasty Goblin Tinker. Jared has to take a damage, but I think he's okay. Stone Ring, yeah. With buyback. Like a Dwarven Blast Miner. He might get the Scroll Rack next turn, but Goblin Tinker takes a grand total of 0 damage.
That's pretty
good.
good.
I'm not saying that Brian can't get out of this, but it does not look good. Oh, okay. I lied. It looks good. It looks very good for Brian.
I was just thinking, like, I wonder, like, if he has a Collar of the Claw in his hand, because if he does, and he got greedy to play the Tinkerer and misses out on the opportunity to play Collar of the Claw, then his second Engineered Plague would be brutal, but just didn't think that, it was going to be an issue.
All right. I think Brian has a good amount of time now. Oh, there's a Naturalize. Oh, no, there's not a Naturalize. Not far from it. I guess Jared gets to draw out a card, but Gem Pump Incinerator. Do you think the Tranquil Domain comes in? I guess it's probably almost better than Naturalize, right?
Yeah, we didn't think about it, but yeah. It's very good.
Be pretty good here.
We saw Jared lay a mountain down and then immediately scoop it right back up. He's like, oh yes, land tax is a card.
Oh, as my camera goes up. Does that bump my table? There we go.
Out of control, this guy.
Yep.
Gets a little spotted cow in him and bumping his camera.
Better than just knocking everything on the. Look at this nice warped.
And we gotta give that away.
Yes.
You can get the Circle of Protection beer.
I don't think it really smells like beer anymore. There was a while I had like paper towels that I just cleaned up and I just left them on my desk. And I'm like, man,
just
it really.
In case.
No, it's just I just didn't throw it out. I'm like, man, it really smells like beer in here. Well, I wonder why.
I thought you left them just in case you spilled another beer.
Oh, I mean, this is Spotted Cow. Oh, you thought okay. You thought that was Spotted Cow. Okay, I thought that I misread the tone of that message. But yes. Good Wisconsin beer. Apparently the distributors say they won't sell outside of Wisconsin. So
They do not.
I'm guessing a lot of you won't get to enjoy, but it's just a nice, well balanced beer. Really easy drinking and good body, good beer.
Indeed. I had my fair share when I lived in Wisconsin.
Yes, it's very popular at like any establishment. So good go-to beer. All right.
In the meantime,
we got to naturalize. Do you think he's targeting the land tax? Nope. Maybe he's doing the scroll rack, and then he just wants to get the tranquil domain. But naturalize takes out engineered plague. Is that number 2 or number 1? I don't know.
it looks like it was number 2.
All right. But 1 still remains. So Jared might be able to poke a little. Did we get a update with
Yeah,
it?
it's naturalized. So he casts the naturalize in response to the meddling mage.
Okay. So we got a 4-mana 1/1, but Jared's the Tranquil Domain. I thought that was a land. Okay, Tranquil Domain and Wasteland go to the bottom, while Goblin Lackey and another Goblin Lackey.
Yeah, it's 2 lackeys.
Well, technically gets to draw those, but they're not great right now.
So if Brian can land his 3rd plague, it's pretty much game over for Jared, right?
Jared could draw the Tranquil Domain.
Sure. Or his 2nd king.
Not with 2 of them.
Second
Play,
king doesn't do it. Yeah.
He could. I don't know.
He could try to get some other 2 toughness goblins in play before that happens, and then Collar of the Claw.
Okay. Yes. Just, it doesn't even have to be 2 toughness goblins. They're gonna die anyways, right?
It's true.
Yeah, I don't think my wife comes down in this room very often, so this is my personal sanctuary, a magic cave.
So Jared taking some damage there. He's down to 8 now from his lands.
Is that all from his lands? Right.
Yeah.
I guess the meddling mage is also
meddling mage did get in there.
But Jared's able to counter back with a war chief and a ringleader. It's only 2 damage, but we saw from the game before that, like, if there are multiple pile drivers that came down, the meddling mage won't be able to block it because of the protection from blue.
Right.
So that could be a sticky situation.
He's got a lot of cards in his hand. But he doesn't have a lot of mana to work with, kind of going back to what you were saying earlier about goblins being a mana-hungry deck.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, right now they're trading 2 damage for 2 damage, but obviously this damage race favors Brian currently. Jared will use a Goblin Matron, which it will die, but still gets to use its come into play effect and gets a Gem Palm Incinerator. So this leads me to believe that, I guess, even if Jared doesn't have a naturalize, this could be a very reasonable play because you're just taking the clock away from Jared. Not Jared. Brian. All right, Jared's down to 4. There's no reach out of like the Terrageddon deck, right? No way, direct damage or anything.
Not that I'm aware of.
Right, so Jared uses both his colored sources to get rid of the Meddling Mage. Source of Polishers here.
Yeah.
This is brutal. So Source of Polishers in response will exile the War Chief, and now the Gem Home Incinerator only deals 1 damage.
He did it pre-combat too.
Sure. All right, so I feel like we might be going to a game three, but I guess Jared's not ready to call it quits yet. I guess I'm trying to think of situations what Jared needs to do. I guess he could buy a lot of time just blocking
Jared confirmed that he did draw from cycling.
Okay. Circle Protection Red, alright. I think it's pretty good here.
I think we're going to a game 3.
There could be a Tranquil Domain. Tranquil Domain. He did shuffle his library, so.
Have you ever run Tranquil Domain in a monthly?
Oh yes. Yes. Well, so to be fair, when Premodern started, like the tournament,
I know exactly what you're gonna say.
The monthly tournaments weren't that big, and like one of those players was Andrew Walker, and let me tell you about Andrew Walker is he likes his enchantments.
Sure does.
It was very often that I would throw 2 of these in my deck in the sideboard because the likelihood of me playing Andrew Walker was pretty high. So yeah, I've definitely got him a few times with Tranquil Domain.
I ran 1 copy of Tranquil Grove in a toolkit deck because I knew I would probably run up against Andrew.
Which set is that from?
I think it's Weatherlight.
Okay. Alright, so the Meddling Mage's attacks, but the Ringleader will block, and Jared will try to cycle the Gem Palm Incinerator response to deal 1 damage, but there is another Source of Plowshares from Brian. So at this point, Jared's got to be a little bit disheartened, I think.
Yeah.
He's got 1 more turn, I guess. But Brian seems to have things pretty well in lock with the Engineered Plague, Circle Protection Red, Zurin, or Meddling Mage. How many naturalizes are in Jared's hand?
0, but he's got 4 Chromus' Vengeance. So as soon as he gets his white mana, it's on.
Chromus Vengeance would be pretty good here. Have you cast a Chromus Vengeance in Premodern?
I have not.
I've not either. I don't even think I have it in the sideboard of my slide deck that has Burning Wish. So, all right. Brian Durkin has taken game 2 with the help of Engineered Plague. So,
all right,
we'll be going ahead. Game number 3. Let's go look at the decks again, I guess. So we have seen Circle Protection Red. We've seen Engineer Plague. All right. We haven't seen any other sideboard cards, I don't believe, out of Brian. And we have seen... I guess we didn't see Forest, but I'm pretty sure he brought that one in. Goblin Tinker we saw. We saw Naturalize. We technically saw Tranquil Domain, though it wasn't cast. And we did see Gem Palm Incinerator, but I don't know if that's the main deck copy of the sideboard. We did see a Goblin King when that also has the same condition, or it could be either one. But I'm guessing the King is being boarded in for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right, so Jared's on the play now. I had to imagine that Brian is looking for a hand that either has Swords to Plowshares or can recover quickly from a Lackey connection.
Makes sense to me.
So if you have a medium hand, something with like Enlightened Tutor, no Mox Diamond, maybe you could have like a Werebear. Is that like, but no good way to answer Lackey? Is that something you think Brian is looking to ship back? Or
If he can't answer a turn 1 Lackey or drop a turn 2 Plague, I think he'll probably ship it back until he's at 5 cards, and he probably won't go lower than 5 cards.
I'm just trying to think like a turn 2 Plague. I wonder how easy that is for him to do. I guess he has 3 Plagues and 4 Mox Diamonds. I guess it's not that hard. All right. Players are finishing shuffling up. I hope. There could be mulligans, I don't know. So we'll jump back down to the match. Looks like Jared is sending his hand back. There weren't enough Goblin Lackeys in that opener, I'm guessing. Or how aggressive do you think Jared is looking for a card like Naturalize? Is that something you think he needs to find in his opening 7, or is it better just to try and curve out to begin with and make Brian have an answer first? Because I guess we did see the Meddling Mage come down on Naturalize, so if Jared does not have one immediately, it might get kind of locked out with the Meddling Mage.
Yeah, I think it would be nice if he has a Naturalize, but if he gets a hand with a good start, he's not going to ship that back to get a Naturalize. I think that would be icing on the cake of the hand that he wants to have. Certainly a Matron is a consideration, being able to get a Matron for a Goblin King, the same way he did in game 2, even though it didn't work out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's a good answer, though. It is a little bit of a House of Cards situation, though, because like if the game does go on long and a Swords to Plowshares takes out the Goblin King, then all your guys get smaller, and then you might lose a bunch of guys. But
yeah. I think the best hand for him would be something with a fast start, but also a Caller of the Claw. Okay. And just let Brian play his Plague and then get colored out.
All right. Turn 1 Mountain Pass for Jared, while Brian does have a turn 1 land tax off a basic plains. And Jared uses a Naturalize immediately on the land tax. Okay.
Interesting.
So that's one way to fight, I guess, trying to deny the card advantage from the land tax. We'll see how that works out.
What do you name here if you're Brian?
I know I have a little bit of a hunch, like given how quickly that Naturalize came down, that he might have another one. I don't. But in terms of just preemptively naming a card, Ringleader is probably the safe name. You could name. I mean, is Goblin King any good?
He named Naturalize.
Naturalize, okay. Goblin War Chief comes into play, but is unwilling to attack.
Not much of a War Chief.
Yeah. More like a Mog Flunkies. That's what he is.
A puny flunky.
I think the players might have a little bit of a connection problem. It looks like Jared's just trying to confirm that his video is still working. Still looks fine on my end, but I've had instances where one player's connection is not representative of what we see. So
I'm gonna give him a thumbs up. Looks good to me.
It's the. Do you know what the like? Is it thumbs up Jeff or something? It's some. Do you know what I'm referring to or no?
Hold on, let me look.
I don't remember what it. I'm hoping someone in chat recognizes what that was.
Oh, all right, I'm back. Jeez. Okay. That was scary. My internet just went.
All right, I'll mute Brian and see.
All right, I'll mute Brian as well.
Everything's normal after that. While I look up history of memes. Brent
So looks like there are
Rambo.
a couple different ones.
Brent Rambo.
This
Thumbs up.
blonde kid with the flat top.
Yeah, or the computer.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Yeah, it was
Very nice.
I think it was an Apple commercial, I think is what it was.
So I believe we're on Brian's turn, right? The war chief was just played.
Yes, I think we are on Brian's turn.
Okay.
Do you know, now that we're on the topic of memes, have you ever seen, okay, Swords to Plowshares takes care of Goblin War Chief. I think that was at the end of Jared's turn. Have you ever seen, oh, there we go. Who was asking for that? Was that Comical Flop or?
Mm-hmm. Here's Rusty. Rusty Bear.
No one's paying attention to the magic
All right,
now.
he's done.
So.
Okay, sorry. Memes and magic.
Tom asks, has Brian played Terrageddon every week? And has this ever happened on the PSS? I think he's played it 3 times. Has he played it 4?
He played Sly in week 3.
He might have played it.
And he played Sly in week 4.
Okay.
What did he play last week? He played Terrageddon last week, right?
Yes, he played against, I think it was
Played against
Aaron.
Aaron on Sly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's played it 3 out of 5 weeks.
All right, Circle of Protection comes down. I mean, I think Circle is definitely less effective than Engineer Plague. So here,
Absolutely.
Jared's able to develop further. Has a ringleader and a matron in play, and he sees a war chief and a pile driver off that ringleader. So it looks like no attacks from Jared. I guess it would be only for 1 damage because the untapped island would be able to prevent the 2 from the ringleader. So ringleader playing defense, looks like.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Zuran Orb is the play.
There's the wasteland. A little late to the party.
Yes. Still casts Goblin War Chief. Or at least helps. Alright, the Meddling Mage also was unwilling to attack into the ringleader, so creatures are kind of just at a standstill. So this is interesting from Jared because it's kind of like you want to build up a board because you're not going to be able to chip in because of the Circle Protection Red.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, if committing Pile Driver to the board, does he get punished? It's just like the 1 Wrath of God. Ooh. Gempalm Incinerator is targeting the Meddling Mage, so even a Swords of Plowshares here wouldn't be able to remove enough goblins if a Gempalm would be lethal either way. And Circle Protection doesn't help against protecting your creatures, so kind of a feeble attack from Jared since he's only preventing.
Ooh, that means Enlightened Tutor for Engineered Plague, right?
Okay, but on this board, like Engineer Plague is not the worst. Like for Jared, like it gets rid of a Goblin Matron, and there isn't black mana currently. Is it for like a scroll rack? For a land tax? Is it for a seal of removal? We don't know.
Tune in next week for the big reveal. He's really thinking about it.
It is a land tax. So
He wants to get his engine going.
Mr. Moneybags. That's his name, right?
That's the Monopoly guy, right?
Is that actually his name?
I mean, maybe. I feel like I heard that somewhere, but I don't know if I've ever looked it up.
Rich Uncle Pennybags.
Pennybags, okay.
Did you ever play? I don't know if it was included with like the Windows, but there was just like a Monopoly game on it. Maybe it was a game that we had received, but was that included on Windows? Like one of the versions of Windows?
Not that I can recall.
Oh,
How old are we talking?
like it was 95 or 98. Windows.
Okay, yeah, I don't think it was on 95 or 98.
95 had what was it called? Hover. It was like hovercraft or something. It was basically like capture the flag, but with like these you're just like why can't I think of what it was called? I don't know. But then also the pinball game too.
I played a lot of Free Cell.
Okay.
Solitaire.
I did hearts. I liked hearts. I just try and shoot the moon every time.
Shoot the moon. Nice.
Yeah. All right. So goblins are getting in there. 2 pile drivers are here. So there's no engineering plague, so they're full powered. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 plus 16. But obviously the pile drivers are gonna get prevented. And then the war chief and the ringleader. So 4 mana prevents 15 damage, and he gets in for 1.
Jared conspicuously leaving up 3 mana here. One of them is a green source.
Yeah, he does have the option to wasteland the undiscovered paradise. I mean, it's not going to prevent. I mean, he also has the option to wasteland himself and get rid of the Carplusian Forest. But he does do that. So it looks
So
like
he doesn't have a collar.
Looks like he's trying to stay under the land tax.
Yeah, it's just so hard with the Zern Orb, though. I mean, he just sacked 2 lands.
Sure.
I don't know if I like that play.
Yeah,
because Brian's gonna do it anyway. Like, and with the Undiscovered Paradise, return into hand.
Well, Brian sacrificing lands is consequential because it allows Jared to get in some amount of damage. And like if Brian is never playing anything to the board, then eventually Jared's going to build up enough creatures. And if Brian has to spend his mana, then it's not available for him to use it in the Circle Protection Red.
Yeah, there's that black mana. I don't know. I mean, I feel like in this situation, I bluff Collar of the Claw. Is probably what I do.
I think Jared's line is fine. I think it's very reasonable. I don't think bluffing Collar of the Claw, like, what is Brian, like, not gonna cast Wrath of God? Like,
I'm more worried about Engineered Plague.
Yeah, I mean, do you think Brian's like not gonna cast Engineer Plague because Jared has 3 mana up? Like, I think Brian's play is gonna be the same regardless of what Jared Like if you have the caller, then maybe yes, that makes sense. But I think his line is reasonable to, given what Jared likely has, we don't know for sure, to try and constrain Brian's mana or make the game go super long where Jared can go really wide. I mean, because if you look at Jared's board right now, it's pretty resilient to Engineer Plague. Only the Goblin Matron would die.
That's true.
The Ringleader? Nope, a 3 mana, a Matron. This is for another pile driver?
Or Lackey. King.
King. Okay, so the preventative measure for the... Oh, he's got it right away. All right. And that's a... All right, here.
Win.
So 3 will get prevented. So the pile drivers and a 3 power creature. So 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9 damage coming through, so... I guess Jared's at 18. Is Jared at 16? Maybe Jared's
at 16, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I believe 9 will get through. So, I mean, like, what is... Brian kind of needs Wrath of God, right?
Yeah.
So there is a Swords of Plowshares. That'll take out probably, yeah, the Goblin King. So
Why didn't he swords in response to, like, going to combat?
I guess he's preventing him either way. And like the Goblin Matrons died. Oh no! Oh, never mind. You're right. Okay, I was thinking there was an Engineer Plague in play. Yes, I think he should have to prevent some 1 damage. No, they have haste either way from the Matron or the War Chief. So I guess it doesn't really matter if you're going to prevent the pile drivers either way. So this means 1 less mana. So he took. They say he only took 4? I guess that's right. No, it should be 6 though, right? Or the Undiscovered Paradise got sacrificed, so he took 6 in the game too.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that makes sense. Now I understand. So whose position do you like here?
I was just thinking that. I don't know. I mean, Jared has this overwhelming board presence, but Brian is still in a pretty decent spot with the land tax. I mean, he doesn't have a scroll rack, but even if he did, he's still, like you said, getting bottlenecked on mana for the...
Yeah, right now Jared's representing 4 damage a turn. He's got a couple of cards in hand, it looks like. I'm trying to think what the most impactful cards... I mean, Naturalize would be very good.
He's got Brian on the back foot.
Yeah, Brian just looks like he just has a bunch of lands in hand. Brian didn't even land tax? Oh, he's got 3 unknowns. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that might be something that he can work with. Yeah. Okay, Mox Diamond is very good. And an Undiscovered, okay. A lot more damage can be prevented now. Now only 1 would get through, I think. Oh, and there's a meddling mage. So this name's Naturalize, right?
Probably. Yeah.
Okay. So what does Jared need to do? Okay, another pile driver.
It's pretty good.
And the 1 power creatures, they do get in there. I think that's reasonable. So meddling mage, I think, will block a matron. Oh, yes, and the pile drivers get prevented, so 5 damage comes through. Not a terrible turn for Jared, but I think without some help from the top of his deck, and I can't even think like what the best card for Jared to draw. Because every turn that goes by, Brian's gonna be able to add another land. Yeah, he's even able to attack here. And Jared just, oh, okay. Thought he was conceding.
I did too. I was like, what?
I mean, maybe he's thinking that. I mean, there's still Tranquil Domain in his deck. That for sure is a card that he could draw.
Has he used both his incinerators?
I think so. We see 2, or a Mog Fanatic and a Lackey added. He still has 1 card in his hand.
Yes.
Brian is gonna prevent 5 sources of damage. So 3 pile drivers, probably the Lackey.
3.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you can't prevent the Lackey here.
If it's a Siege Gang in his hand, it's pretty good.
Also, like,
Ooh, it
Sharpshooter
might be
would
a
pretty good.
naturalize.
Well, Brian's down to 2. So, how much? This is very close. Those 2 extra like creatures being able to attack here really make a big difference in terms of how close Jared gets. So, and interesting that Brian plays Undiscovered Paradise.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too.
Like, wouldn't you want to keep building up your mana? Because you have to think that Jared's going to be adding more and more creatures every time. There's a Tranquil Domain, right? I mean, you're still able to prevent the damage now. So you're still able to use Circle Protection.
Yeah.
But maybe that wasn't. Maybe he didn't have enough. He still should be able to live that turn. All right. Let's listen in to the players as they pick things up as the Goblin deck's taking it down.
Okay.
Oh man, I'm like hot and sweaty now.
Yeah, I know. I had to put a shirt on because I didn't take it off.
Put the shirt on.
Yeah.
All right. Oh wait. Oh, I was trying to turn my own volume. All right. Okay. Hello.
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 Hey guys.
Hey.
Woof.
Good games.
Yes.
Yeah, they were
Intense
exciting.
A very intense one.
I know in like game 2, I was like, well, it looks like Jared's got this one. There's not much that probably could do it. Then just a second engineer play comes down. I'm like, all right, I lied. This is very good for Brian. Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of funny. Like my opening hand had, I think, I think I had like Plague plus a Enlightened Tutor. and like 2 Mox Diamonds, but I only had 2 lands. So yeah, there was a turn where I had 2 lands in play, and my 4 cards were 2 plagues, and like the turn that I played the scroll rack, my 4 cards were 2 diamonds, 2 plagues.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why I tanked so hard on turn 3. I was like, all right, like how do I scroll rack here to like not bone myself, give me the best chance? So then out of my 5 cards, like I put 3 back, kept a diamond and a plague, being like, well, if I hit double land in the top 3, then I can cast 1 plague this turn and keep the other plague on top. And then luckily it worked. If it did not, I was very dead. We would not have had Jared's amazing top deck there in game 3.
Yeah, I felt pretty good in game 2 also. I was like, the Goblin King's doing its thing, and I knew the second plague was always going to be an issue, but we had to take a minute to see if Goblin King was still a lord or if he was just a goblin, and he's actually not a lord anymore. He's just a goblin, and it says others.
Right.
We just had to make sure. We were pretty sure of that, but we had to just double check. And then, I just could not, get through all, the double plague, and then he had the land tax and the scroll rack going and everything. But by the end, close one. I was in that like, game 3. I was just like, well, if he draws Wrath of God, I'm screwed anyway. You know what I mean? It's just plague. I was going to be able to fight through a little bit. I felt like, but it was always Wrath of God. I was just always going to just be done. So I was just like, I'm going to keep going until like you just make it. It's only one of, and you weren't scroll racking. So I was like, I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah, no, I'm a master of like mid-game when things have stalled out, and I tutor for land tax to like only draw other lands to my deck after I trigger land tax twice. It's actually a pretty good skill of mine.
It's impressive.
Not a particularly good skill to have, but skill nonetheless.
It is something I'm known for doing in this event. It's pretty amazing. I've happened like 3 times now. It's kind of wild. Yeah, no, they were super tight, and it was a lot of fun. I had a feeling I was going to play against Goblins. I figured neither of us were going to sign up for. I know Jared loves Goblins, and I think it is a decent matchup for Terrageddon, and why sign up for the Nightmare of the Mirror when you can be proactive playing Goblins? So it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and then I thought about Audible. I was pretty sure I was going to play Terrageddon, but I thought seriously about Elves because I was like, well, Jared's probably definitely playing Goblins. So it's like, I don't have to worry about like his Pyroclasms or Engineer plays if I play Elves, but it just seems like such a rough matchup. Like, I feel like if I win the die roll and I get off to a great start, like going first as Elves, you might be able to survive like Mod Fanatics and Gem Palms, but it just seems miserable in the draw. So I just figured like I can just trust my deck, hope to get swords and plagues and be okay. But sometimes they just draw tranquil to me. So.
Yeah.
But I was in big trouble anyway, and I was losing like small percentages. Like I shouldn't have played the Paradise once I like needed like critical mana for Cop Red, and then there were like some other slight things that I did weird in game 3. But yeah, this was.
So why'd you ban Draco? I'm just curious.
I banned Draco because I was pretty scared of like the disruption and the combo. So like foolishly in the 3 decks that I registered, like I don't have any counter spells. So like everyone's combo decks are like actually like pretty scary. Because the control deck that I signed up with Terrageddon like isn't playing counter spells, isn't playing duress, so like it actually leaves like a huge blind spot. Like in hindsight, I definitely should have never registered Elves because like I was in the moment I wasn't gonna come to that conclusion because I like just got my Cradles and the deck is so objectively powerful. So I'm like, I gotta sign up with this so I can have a chance to play it. But I think it left me in like a lot of weird situations with the bannings because since everyone in this group is so good, everyone knows Elves is so good, so nobody signed up with decks that didn't have a plan for Elves. It always becomes like really awkward to actually field it once it gets down to playing the matches. So I wish that slot was like anything that was playing like Mana Leak or Duress or something, or was just like a balls to the wall combo deck. So like all my opponents got to think, right? Like you just like everyone else every week was like, I was pretty sure you weren't going to play elves when I left it for you, you know?
I was sad to see not have Draco Blast because I was like, well, if I ban Sly, then I felt pretty good with Draco Blast against the other two and Goblins against the other two. So I was like, I'm gonna have one of those two options. You know, I was pretty sure I didn't want to play Terrageddon against either of the decks, but I was just like, I'm just gonna whatever one he leaves me, I'm just gonna play that. And I definitely would have preferred to probably have, I think it would have been pretty good. Terrageddon would have been pretty good. I mean, Draco would have been pretty good against the Terrageddon deck, but I'm not sure. I've never actually played the matchup, so I'm curious to see how it goes.
Yeah, I've never played it either, but I think like you have first off, you have stuff like duress, so you can like mess with the engine a little bit. And
Yeah.
I just have no response to getting Draco blasted, right? So it's like you literally like attack once with a Grim Lavamancer, bolt me, and then I could just be dead, right? So
Right.
it's like super duper duper scary.
Yeah, that's the way I felt too.
Yeah, so I didn't want to sign up for that at all. So yeah, no, I think you definitely banned the right deck. If there was no bannings, my order of playing decks was probably like Sly, Terrageddon, and then Elves based on like your three. So it definitely made sense for sure.
I think I've banned Sly all 3 times I've been against it, between you, James, and Aaron. So I was just like, I just think this is gonna be a bad matchup for my deck. So I was just one of those to ignore, which is one of the best parts about this whole thing. It's just like really thinking about that part. And Brian and I were talking beforehand how like the viewers don't really see our process. I mean, we'll talk about it afterwards, but like, you know, like I spent a couple 20 to 20 minutes or so like every week just being like, okay, what's this? You know, I make a little like grid and everything, just try to figure it out.
Totally. And there's like levels to it too, right? Like, you know, depending on the decks you sign up with, it's like, oh, maybe you do some kind of like game theory gambit to like, I'll ban a deck they didn't expect me to ban because like I know that they want to ban this deck or something, right? So there can be cool moments like that. But yeah, it is exciting. It is fun to think about for sure. I just wish that it's a weird thing to say because I know the pre-modern community is like, we hate elves, and they get annoyed with it, like always topping the monthly league. But it's like my biggest regret in this event was registering elves because I just didn't think about like that game theory, like like level 2 is actually everyone shows up prepared for elves, so it's like it was correct to like probably not register it. And yeah, to your point, Jared, like banning Sly every time, like that was actually what I was going for with registering Sly. I figured like people never want to play this, so they always ban it. So then I kind of get my choice of like 2 powerful decks. I just didn't think about how prepared everyone's 3 decks would be for elves.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add, but yeah, it was impressive, I guess, like that how resilient the Goblins deck was. Like once again, like a lot of people just think of the Goblins deck as an aggressive deck, or you're just all in on Lackey, but it definitely can fight through some hateful cards where other decks kind of fold to them.
It reminds me. So it's like a 25 land aggro deck. Really, is what it's supposed to be, which is kind of strange. You know, most aggro decks are a little lower to the ground, but it's because it's got like those 3, 4, 5 drops that are so impactful that like it can reload, like with something like Siege Gang, and you know, Matron is freaking amazing. You know what I mean? Like just having so many options, and she just replaces like herself with a better card, and it kind of reminds me. I don't know if like I played Standard when it was like in Lorwyn, and I played the Kithkin deck. It felt like that, like where you got like early game, but then you're like 3 drops, 4 drops, 5 drops are also like. But these are all better cards in the Goblins than the Kithkin were. But they all have synergy, and they all like add to the board state consistently, and have ways to interact too. So I know the Cloud Goat Ranger himself knows what I'm talking about. But so. Anyway,
may have cast a Kithkin or 2 in my day, so
yes.
No, that's true, Jared. Yeah, Goblins is like super resilient. If people didn't think there might have been like a viewer out there was like, Durkin's got cop red, like this is pretty locked up. He has to find naturalized, but like it's not burn, right? It's not like all of your damage is just like one quick burst. Like Jared did really.
It's
good
repetitive.
job. Yeah, building like
it's repetitive damage
of creatures, pressuring my mana, and like. Yeah, it's just one of the many angles where Goblins can really overwhelm people. Yeah, it's an awesome deck. Like it's one of the beautiful parts of Premodern, right? Because it's a tribal deck, It's super powerful. It's got a lot of depth. It doesn't play any reserve list cards, so it's like it's attainable for someone that's new. Like you get to attack, you get to play with Galaki. It's sick. It's a great deck.
So like in that game 3, if you ever tapped out for anything other than Wrath of God, you're just dead. You know what I mean? For the most part, like you were pretty much dead anytime you just tapped out, except for Wrath. Even if you did Plague, you would probably still take like 8. You know what I mean? At least at any one of those like little turns where you had to spend all 3-4 mana to always use the Cop Red. And like again, like you said, against a burn deck, like you're just sitting there. You know, I'm just gonna like have burn spells in my hand that are not pressuring you the same way, where you can advance your board because you only have to worry about the 1 or 2, maybe 3 burn spells at most in hand. You know, as long as you have a healthy enough life total. So
yeah, no, true. And like the matron is subtly like a huge advantage too. It's like that was like another reason why I couldn't play elves. I'm like the deck effectively has 6 sharpshooters and can give it haste. Like there's no way I can sign up for that.
Love sharpshooter.
And yeah, another subtle difference too is like a lot of the goblins like casually have 2 toughness, which is a big deal when like something like Plague is pretty prevalent with elves. So
absolutely.
Yeah, no. And Jared did a lot of great heads up plays like in the match, like wastelanding himself, like failing to put Tranquil like not on the bottom of his deck. Like there was a lot of cool stuff in our match.
Yeah, that play where I wastelanded myself there was really just to try to keep you below 4 mana because I was only worried. I was scared of Wrath, and if I could, and like to make you kind of settle at 3, I could hang out there for a while because I had lands in my hand, and if I had another green source in my hand, so if I ever did draw the Tranquil or the Naturalize, I would have been fine. And I was just basically waiting for a chance. They'll be like, okay, just got to go all in, and that was basically the only thing I was really worried about. So it was something to think about, just to kind of limit the number and how. Like if you just have to keep, feeding the land tax with the Zuran Orb, that's fine. But like I had I had to keep you at 3 as opposed to ever hit 4, so you get more lands where you can do even more with the Cop Red. So that's what.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then even if you didn't have like the 2 or 3 pile drivers at the time, just like the nature of goblins, like it's still scary to face down a word. Like I still can't tap out if you have no pile drivers in play because you have a War Chief. So it's like if I don't have a sword for the War Chief and I just decide to cast like a Terror or something, like I can get blown out. Similar to like if someone taps like my match against John where he like casted Neshoba against my Cop Red and I was like a burn spell away maybe from like punishing only 2 lands being up. Like goblins can do the same thing with a War Chief, which is really cool.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome. Well, they were fun to watch. A lot of back and forth there.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure if Brian was going to be able to pull that last game out, but there were some spots where it was looking really good, and then Jared just kind of flooded the board even more, and little chips of damage just brought you down to the life total that you just couldn't recover from. So.
Yeah, it's funny. Off like camera or backstage or whatever you want to call it, like we were talking about how there's things we would change about our decks. And I would definitely try to fit probably like a propaganda in Terrageddon just because it would be nice to like tax a creature deck's mana. So they have to like choose between like adding more threats or in that situation, right? Like if I have a propaganda, then, I can keep things under control. So
definitely.
Food for thought out there if anyone plays Terrageddon.
Cool. All right.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for the games. Thanks for staying
Absolutely.
up out on the East Coast, Jared.
Take care.
We'll catch you next week.
All righty, bye guys.
Bye. All right, we'll look forward to our schedule. So again, our show will be starting at 9 p.m. on Thursday. So we'll be starting a little bit earlier. We'll have 3 matches of Magic. We'll start with Ben against Tom. I wonder if we might flip the order. Ben might play back-to-back, so that way he doesn't have to wait. So I don't know. We might switch things around a little bit, but there'll be 3 matches of Magic on Thursday. Yeah, other than that, I guess I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in. Thank you, Rich Bork, for rating us earlier. Forgot to mention that when it happened, but appreciate that. So if you guys aren't familiar with Rich, he streams Old School. So not quite the same format as Premodern, but some good classic Magic there. Is there anything that you want to, anyone you want to shout out, Flint, or thank?
No, I mean, just the usual suspects. We had the billboards or whatever, the ads on during the break. So I think we're good. If this is your first time watching tonight, welcome. Hope you enjoyed it and hope to see you on Thursday.
Okay. With that, I guess I'll just move over to the slide, and I will just say thanks everyone for tuning in, and until next time, take care.
Night, everybody.